following podcast contains spoilers and adult language, and I gotta say, Steve, we were not very fast last week.
I know, but in fairness, we did have a lot of material to cover.
I mean, that's true, but, I feel like we can always do better.
Well, maybe tonight will be our chance.
How do you mean?
Well, there is an important sports ball game that you want to watch, so...
Totally right. Oh my God, let's do this. Roll the credits and go Pats.
Go Pats. Bears.
This is a message from the Office of Emergency Preparedness. Due to the recent crisis, we ask that you remain in your homes. Do not attempt to communicate or interact with the creatures, even if they are people you know.
Lock your doors. Bar your windows. The dead are coming. It's time for Aim for the Head, an all Walking Dead universe podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Diana and Steve.
Hi, and welcome back to Aim for the Head podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
And this is podcast episode number 270. Holy crap, we've recorded 270 of these. And this week we're going to be discussing episode 20 of The Walking Dead's final season. The title of this episode is What's Been Lost. So, what are your thoughts? What did you think of this episode? I can't remember where we left it last week, whose turn it was. So why don't you go first?
I do. I want to say that you went first for the first one we covered, and then I went first for the second one. So technically, it should be your turn to go first. But if you want me to go first, I'll go first.
Well, it's just out of pity because your team's going to lose pretty bad tonight.
Wow.
So out of pity.
Look, no one wants to hear about sports ball, okay? I mean, you're probably sitting at home in your jersey with the half blue and the half silver paint on the face and all that. So nobody wants that. Okay, nobody.
Nope. Just me.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, away from the sports ball, what were your thoughts on episode 20?
I like this episode. I know that it's kind of been getting dinged a little online, not a lot of love on the social media, and I thought it was quite good. I mean, we didn't have like a one of the regulars deaths, but there was a major character death in it.
Yep.
And it did kind of push the story along a little further down the road, which was good. And I thought the pacing was good. I thought Aisha Tyler did a good job directing and kept things moving. And hey, we got to see the ghouls eat more people. So, I had a lot of positive things about it. What about you? What'd you think?
I agree. And we've mentioned previously, and I know I've heard other listeners and other podcasters mention that one of the things that's been great is, whether you do or don't dig the political intrigue that's been happening while they're in the Commonwealth, one thing's for sure, there's been a really nice uptick in the zombie action. It's maybe not necessarily a lot of them every now and then, but there's been some really good, there's some good zombie deaths. There's some good humans being killed by zombies. There's been some good zombie put downs, putting down a zombie that's, attacking. And it's really sort of heightened everything. And it reminds you, there's all this other, drama and malarkey going on. But it's all because of this. This is the reason. This is the reason the world fell. This is the reason why we're trying to get back to civilization, and all that other bullshit. But yes, I enjoyed being scared again because of zombies. Obviously a majority of the action involved people that kind of have a little bit of plot armor. Yeah. So I can see that, but it also brings back to the forefront. I know there's always a lot of people who have been complaining that Carol's been kind of backseated for a few episodes here in favor of, say, Daryl and, obviously the Max and Eugene intrigue that had to play out that way. But, Carol's back and she's in great form and she was fantastic in this episode. And I thought it was nice. It was a good time to get her back. And in everything that they did in this episode really tied to that, the little clips we got at the beginning with the narration. It was all callbacks to all those things that have happened in the past. And now as they're trying to move forward, here are these people who are super important to each other that always have each other's backs. And I just thought it was great. It was and like you said, lots of action. They did push the story along. There was a major death. This wasn't like some red shirt. This was, I mean, Lance is a major character.
Sure.
And they did, as much as he was already a zombie, I was curious if they were going to have Sebastian stay a ghoul for quite a bit, and they didn't. So that's done.
No.
So he's officially done, even though he was sort of done the week before. Now he's like officially, no more Sebastian at all. So that's technically a death as well. And then with Lance as well, it was I think it's if you start out with those, and then I think really the next few weeks it's just gonna be boom, 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 because we've literally only have 4 more episodes left. So. I know it's sad and also scary all at the same time. So yeah. I really enjoyed it. I understand people's frustrations in certain areas. I hear you. I see you. I understand you. I didn't personally have some of those issues. I enjoyed it, but we're gonna get into a lot of our details. Before we get into the details of this episode, let's first go through the episode description. And Steve, that's always your forte. So if you want to go ahead and take it away, as it were.
All right. Well, let's jump to it. Just think there's only going to be 4 more of these after this podcast. I know. It's the end of an era.
It is an end of an era.
All right. So here we go. This week's episode is being brought to you by Pamela Milton's Zombie Safari Bus Tours. Are you part of the undesirable element of the Commonwealth? Then consider booking a spot on Pamela Milton's Zombie Safari Bus Tours today. To get started, simply break the law in the Commonwealth or perform an act of rebellion. It won't be long before you'll be picked up and escorted to the bus depot. And don't worry about saying goodbye to your friends and family. They'll probably be going along with you. Once you're on the bus, you'll receive your own burlap sack, perfectly fitted to go over your head and designed to restrict your vision to basically nothing. And if long car trips aren't your thing, well, don't worry. You're going to be sedated with heavy-duty drugs, so the entire trip will be over in one blurry haze. So get out there and start protesting the Milton regime today. With any luck, you'll be booked on the next Pamela Milton's Zombie Safari Bus Tour tomorrow.
Okay, so that's hilarious on a lot of levels. First of all, your choice of music, always adorable. But it's you too can get a sack made just for your head. It's fantastic. It comes free. But I think it's hilarious, and I know you're a little worried because I was like, I'll have some funny things to say. My funny things to say is that we were obviously pressed for time because Steve was coming back from a trip last week, so we recorded a little late, and on top of it, we had so much to cover. And he had so many episodes to watch and double watch and get ready for us recording that we didn't do any fun ads last week. And this week we did a nice, long, hilarious one. And it is literally for the shortest episode description known to man. And last week we didn't have any. And we had 2 episodes and 2 episode descriptions and we didn't have any.
Yeah.
I just think it's hilarious. Anyway, moving on. All right. After I point that out.
And, people, if you want to make the podcast go better, sedate yourself with heavy-duty drugs.
Yes.
The entire podcast will be over in one blurry haze. No. All right. The episode description we have for this week is as follows. And again, this is episode 1120. Title is What's Been Lost. And the description is Daryl and Carol, remember them? They search for their disappeared friends. That is the episode description.
Very, very verbose. There's a lot going on in that description, wouldn't you say?
I do. They're really letting us into a lot of the nuance of the episode.
Yeah, they put a lot of detail in that description, don't you think?
Yeah.
So moving along from the one-liner that we got from AMC, why don't we discuss first our writer-director for the episode, and we'll get into some details of the episode itself.
All right. Well, our writer for this week's episode is someone who we have mentioned multiple times already. It is a gentleman named Eric Mountain, and he has written 3, 4, 5. He has 6 writing credits on The Walking Dead, and
Nice.
and they actually he's relatively new to Angela Kang's writing room. His first episode was last season. It was episode 10.19, so it was one of the COVID bonus episodes. And it was entitled One More, and that is the episode with Aaron and Gabriel when they run into the character of Maze, played by Robert Patrick, with the twins.
Yes.
So if you remember that one, he wrote that. And then so far in this season, he wrote episode 11.8, which was the first trimester finale. It was entitled For Blood, and that's the one where the Hawacha fires at the end.
I just want to say that. Just want to say that every time.
So if you remember that one. And then he also wrote 11.13, which is entitled Warlords, and he wrote that with Jim Barnes, and that is the first appearance of Annie and the character of Carlson when Aaron and Gabriel go to the Riverbend building, right? And Carlson's going to try and get rid of them, but then they're going to kill them all, and then Negan shows up, and we first meet Annie and all that stuff. Then he also, again with Jim Barnes, wrote the conclusion of that story, which was 11.14, and that was entitled The Rotten Core. And that's, if you remember, that's the one where Carlson falls off the roof, and then the ghouls eat him, and he can't move because he broke his back or whatever. So, yeah.
What a shame.
Good times.
Yeah.
And then he wrote this episode, 1120, What's Been Lost, which we're discussing right now. And coming up, he wrote 1123, which is an episode entitled Family. And that he wrote with Kevin Diebold, who's one of the executive producers of the show, and a person named Maggie Lozano. And, of course, that is going to go down as the penultimate episode of The Walking Dead, and I just like saying the word penultimate. So
it's a great word.
It really is. But that is our writer. So again, he's written some good episodes. It's all of recent vintage, but pretty good writer overall, I think, because I think we pretty much liked all of those stories, or at least parts of them. So, and then of course our director, straight off the set of Friends, is Aisha Tyler. So people forget that she came on the last 2 seasons of Friends. So
she sure did.
And she actually, it's interesting. She has a unique description or distinction, I should say, in that she is one of the few people out there that has directed an episode of The Walking Dead, an episode of Fear the Walking Dead, and episodes of World Beyond. So she's directed one of every show that the universe has created so far. So that's kind of cool.
Awesome. And she's we were talking about it last week when we were talking about her directing this episode, and she's a super fan. Like, she's a comics reader and loves the whole universe. So I love when the show is put in the hands of people who care as deeply about the universe as they do, and I think they do a really good job of doing that. Yeah,
it's like they take it even more seriously than just they're being given a job and they should have a responsibility to do as good as they can. But here it's even more because they have such a passion for the project already.
Yeah.
So, true. But she The Walking Dead, she directed this episode 1120, What's Been Lost. So this is her Walking Dead credit. And then on Fear, she directed episode 6.13, which was entitled JD, and that is the first appearance of John Dory Sr.
Yeah.
So if you remember that with the camper, and Rose goes in there, not Rose, June goes in there, and she's got the gun that says JD, and he's like, that's my gun, and boom, then they were off and running. So and then in World Beyond, she directed 2 episodes of season 2. She directed 2.3 Exit Wounds, and there's like 9 million plots happening in there, but if you remember Exit Wounds, at the very beginning we see the 2 kids, and the girl is like putting flowers in the ghoul's eyes that have died.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's that one. And then she directed the next one right after that, 2.4, which is family is a 4-letter word. And the only bit in there I think that would jar people's memory is we kind of see Huck's backstory about how she was sent, undercover into the campus place, and we see the soldier break her arm with the rifle. Yeah, so it's that one. So that's kind of a thing that happened in that one. So anyway, those are her two. So again, she's directed 1 Walking Dead, 1 Fear, and 2 World Beyond. And that's our writer and director.
And she appeared as an actor.
She unfortunately did, yes.
Yeah.
Although, she doesn't want to talk about that. So
I wouldn't either.
And notice she didn't come back after that episode.
They have mentioned her, though, which I think is interesting.
They have, and that's only because, people were like, wait, wasn't there 3 of you?
Yeah, what happened? You guys left there. There were 3. You've mentioned and did nothing. Okay, great. All right, so let's start at the very beginning. And we've had this that we've been discussing.
Well, the Earth cooled, and then the dinosaurs came, but they got big and fat and died, and they turned into oil. And then all the Arabs bought Mercedes-Benzes. Does that catch you up?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Jesus. Okay, so airplane, right?
Yes, that is from Airplane.
Great. Thank you.
Very well done.
Yeah, thanks. Whew, that was a pull. So we've been talking about the Judith narration at the beginning. And this week, it felt like it was centering on people who always have your back, people who are like basically your tribe. She didn't use those words, but I'm interpreting as such. And it was heavily centered on Carol and Daryl's bond in their relationship. And it's definitely had some ups and downs. I mean, he saves her from Herschel's farm. They show the scene when he comes up in the motorcycle, but he's like, come on, I ain't gotta die, and he's like angry at her that he has to save her. But he also is the one person who had his arms around her when Sophia came out of the barn,
Yeah.
He's been there for the ups and downs, and she's been there for the ups and downs, and whatever you extrapolate their relationship as, you can't deny, no matter what, whether you ship them or don't. Oh my God, I don't even want to get into that discussion. You can't deny they have one of the strongest bonds on the show. I mean, I don't personally ship them, but you cannot deny that they are without question the strongest bond on the show. If Michonne and Rick were there, I would say that theirs might be a little bit deeper, just hello children. But I think in terms of the people we have on the show, theirs is the most enduring. We don't have Rick and Michonne to look at every week. They are the most enduring. I got your back. Yeah. They always do. So I like that. I liked how it started out. And of course, anytime you show that scene where she blows up the termites, that's one of my favorite episodes. I go back and watch that episode about every 6 to 7 months or whatever. If I don't have anything to watch, I will definitely watch that episode. It's just so well done. It's just everything about that episode is so well done.
Just when she launches the firework and it works is just so great.
It's amazing. It is the highlight of her smarts as a human being, because you look at her and you're like, how would one person take down that whole complex? And she did.
She did. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. Anyway,
it's hard to believe that woman, 4, 5, 6 years later, will go blindly running into a mine.
I know. You'd think she'd learned some smarts along the way. She really, when she's mourning somebody, she gets stupid.
She does. Stupid. She gets stupid.
Yeah. So yeah, that's I thought that was a really good inclusion for this week's episode, and I liked. I've been liking these narrations each week, and we've been talking about them each week. So I liked that choice. And the thing I like too about the narrations, not to belabor it, but I like that every time they're talking, it's always clips from some of the oldest shows. They're going all the way back to season 1 clips and things like that. But it's been a really nice journey. and knowing how close we're getting to the end, it makes me think in my head, I'm wondering what the next like 3 or 4 narrations are going to be. What will they center on? Who will they talk about? So it's a nice thing every week to sort of try and figure out, who they're going to talk about this time. So yep, there we go. Like it. Yeah, so we start right off with this was the sneak peek scene, I believe, from Talking Dead that we talked about, which was Carol with their attempt to take Carol, because the way the episode ended last week was them, a couple of roughnecks taking Rosita,
right,
and then they come to this week and we see Carol have a scene with Ezekiel. And she's talking to him. She turns her back, and next thing she knows, she turns around. He's not there. And then she looks, and a guy comes in, and then she's got to try and get away. She does a really good job of getting away. It's amazing how like baker's racks can impede a person's, ability to run around. So yeah. So she very successfully runs away. She makes her way over to where they had been sort of gathering items, getting their stuff together. They had like a wagon with some supplies and things like that. And excuse me. And she gets there, and it's obvious that there's been a tussle there. Broken boxes. She finds there's a little bit of blood on the ground, and she can hear. It's very quiet, and she can hear some struggling. And then we cut to a scene with Daryl, and Daryl is in the midst of a knockdown drag out, and he's losing.
Oh yeah.
He's on the floor. This guy's got his hands around his neck. It's not he's got the plot armor, so I knew he was okay. Plus, it's not even about like he might not have been able to make it. It's hard to tell. He did fight back a bit, but the guy really had the drop on him. It's hard to tell, but Carol helped the situation out because she knocked the guy in the head.
Oh yeah.
She comes in and knocks him in the head. But there was already a dude that he had killed that's on the floor. And the one that's left has his hands around Daryl's throat, and it's not going well. But one of Daryl's knives is in like his shoulder, like right at his like his socket, his arm socket. It doesn't impede his ability to strangle Daryl. No. He's fine. It's just a big long shard of metal in he'll be okay. It's just
of course.
Wound,
it's nothing. It's a scratch.
It's a Hollywood injury. Well, it's a Hollywood injury. You can get shot there too, by the way, and you'll live. That's fine. I don't know.
You can run around.
Yeah, exactly.
You can actually climb when your arm's got a bullet right through your shoulder blade. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's proven in any Hollywood movie or television
That's right.
show.
Yep.
So he's got that knife, and then Daryl does the thing where he presses on the knife, and the guy
twists
back.
it.
And the guy's in pain. He leans back a little. He loosens his grip for just a second, but it's also timed out with Carol knocking him in the head. Meanwhile, while they were doing all of that, the dude that was on the floor, he's starting to reanimate. So we have to have a discussion before we move on to the rest of the scene. That was a quick turnaround, and we've been seeing that. Have you noticed that the Zeds are kind of
I don't think they're breaking canon in that, because it's always been established. You can even go back to the episodes in the CDC where they're talking to what's his name, Jenner, and they even say that it's variable, that once you die, the reanimation could happen immediately, it could happen a day, he basically said there's no set time, like if you remember Andrea's sister, when she got killed at the in the quarry, she sat up with her all night before she finally revived the next morning, right? And whereas like Shane, they blew Shane away, and he got up relatively quickly. So it didn't strike me as, oh my God, they're like speeding it up, or like it's now some sort of new thing. I just think it's just It's almost like a story
Always been
crutch. It's almost like, if the writer needs the ghoul to reanimate right away, they do. If it doesn't, they don't. So it didn't really strike me as much. But I could see where you could think that, though.
Yeah, and I remember all the Jenner stuff too. So they've got kind of like a safety net.
Yeah.
So that they can be like, well, we did say in the beginning,
right.
that you can't predict, and it could be one, it could be other. So I remember all that too, but and obviously it was advantageous to the story for the
Garcia, yeah.
Yeah, for the guy to be like, and you're like, shit.
You're like, oh,
so
man.
not only do I have to fight this guy, but I got to worry about this, I don't know.
But I what I liked was the actor that played that ghoul. I liked how he like kind of sat up when he revived, because it was like he like was moving just with his like midsection, and he didn't really move his arms, he didn't really move his head. It was just sort of like his trunk kind of you got to watch it again. I thought it was a really kind of a neat thing. And I don't know if it was his idea or if Aisha Tyler, directed him on it or not, but I thought it just was kind of it was different and interesting, and I really liked it.
Yeah, I that scene itself, there's a couple of really great moments there. You put some notes down as well, but I did like that. Even though he has the plot armor, it was tight there for Daryl for a little bit. I mean, I don't want to say anything, but they literally just said this week that they're wrapped on the Negan and Maggie series already. And, I haven't heard anything about the Michonne and Rick one yet, but I also know they haven't even started filming the Daryl one yet, as far as we know. So I'm like, what's happening? Like, is this like the adventures of Daryl the French zombie? I mean, it could be. We don't know.
Maybe.
Are they tricking us? Who knows?
But
I don't think there's a trick that's going to happen. I think the show's going to happen. It's delayed because there's a change, because there's no Melissa anymore. But I think it's good that they haven't started filming it yet, because it adds a little bit of flavor to what's happening with Daryl right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you almost sit there going, well, they could trick us. I don't think they're gonna. Yeah. But the possibility, it's not a 0%. They could still trick us.
Yeah, they could, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. Did you watch the featurette at the end of the episode?
I did. Remind me.
Because Angela Kang makes a point about that scene, that they wanted to kind of remind the audience that Daryl's not a superhero.
Yes,
and
I remember that.
He can get his butt kicked just as much as anyone else, which is rare. I mean, we don't usually see Daryl in that position, like you said, where that other guy, even though that guy had a knife in his shoulder, you really got the sense that if Carol didn't come in there and you did not know anything about plot armor, it did not look good for Daryl.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, when he pushed the blade, the guy released a little bit, but just because he does that doesn't mean he's not gonna just like double down and like, okay, great, now I'm gonna like pummel you in the face and then choke you some more. I mean, he's still on top and he still has the upper hand, even though Daryl's causing him some pain with that knife.
Oh, so yeah.
I thought it was, and here's the thing, it's a well done scene, because even with plot armor, I still was tense during that scene, because it was done well. It was crafted well. Other people may not have liked it, but I liked that. I thought it was a good action scene. It was all the elements you're looking for in a nice action scene.
Yeah, I agree. And they cap it off with a great, neck gag, right? Yes. When Carol kind of smacks him with a piece of wood, and that gets him to kind of get off of Daryl. And so then he, of course, turns around and is facing the two of them, and Daryl picks up his knife and is in this fighting stance, right? And they're kind of staring everybody down, like, well, who's going to make the first move? And then the ghoul that just is reanimated comes right up behind him and just takes that nice juicy chunk right out of his neck, And what's great is that Carol and Daryl, they just leave him.
Yeah, they don't
You know,
put him down. They're
they
just
don't
like,
put him down. Yeah.
peace out, homie.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? You kind of had this coming, didn't you?
Yes, yes. I like that that's a thing that you can be like, you know, you wouldn't. The ultimate disgust is I won't even put you down.
Right.
I'm just gonna let you crawl around on the floor.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you reanimate and wander around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. And you know, again, it was a nice gory gag, and they pulled it off. Again, the effects are always great, but it just really, like you said, that whole sequence worked really well.
Yeah, agreed. Got some great lines out of it too.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
When she said that when Carol's like, oh, you know, it's not going to be easy, and Daryl's like, when is it ever?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's totally true.
Yeah.
But then like Carol comes up and she's like, you know, I think they took the kids, they took everybody.
Well, Daryl says they took the kids, and she goes, they took everybody.
Yeah. And Daryl's response, you wrote it in there, is like, they even took dog.
I even took dog. Yeah, I know. But my thing was like, oh, really? Because, like, you know, we haven't seen dog in like 7 episodes. So.
Yeah. So they finally answered that question. You know, they shut people up for at least a few weeks.
Right. Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. I just assumed that dog was in like the Commonwealth kennel or something, because we haven't seen him in, you know,
definitely
a long time. I think the last time we saw him was when Judith wanted to, like, you know, go out with her friends and buy records and stuff. Remember that episode? And they had the apartment that was really loud. I think that was the last time we saw dog.
That might be right. Yeah, but if he's in a nicer apartment and he's a respected member of the community, does that include like dog watchers and dog sitters?
I don't know. Maybe Hornsby provides that service too.
Not anymore.
No. Too soon?
So,
no.
Yeah, never too soon. So after they proclaim, you know, everybody's gone, including dog, they took the kids, they took everybody. We sort of pivot from there to a great scene with Pamela, who it literally looks like a scene that was taken out of present day, because she's talking with what appear to be like high-ranking members of their society.
Yeah,
I would assume, and they look like they're
donors.
Donors and affluent people that are in the society. They literally are having we're so glad that we've supported you, and you've our donations and da 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 da. And I'm like, I can't believe that we're watching this scene. And there's like zombies like not far from here, and you're just having I really value your support, you know, and da, da, da. But they're like in the middle of having this scene, and you know they have this one right in the middle of this really sort of affecting moment. There's you know, where the woman that's talking there, she's, you know, giving her condolences about Sebastian. And I'm pretty sure Pamela said something like, he'll always be with me. And I was like,
literally, he's just down the hall.
She's planning on keeping him.
Oh God, yeah.
That's when I was like, she might be one of those crazies that's going to keep him animated.
No, she is. If they didn't put him down,
they would have.
She was like on the road to governorship right there. I mean,
that was creepy when she had that line. So you're like in the middle of stewing on that line, and then there's a kerfuffle, and Yumiko comes in, and she's like, she breaks up the meeting and whatever, and I loved that, like, the soldier is like trying to stop her, and she totally clocks him in the face. And my note I put was, I was like, Yumiko has a mean right hook? Who knew?
Yeah, who knew?
I know. So that was a really great sort of where she's, you know, standing up for all of her friends, and she's so forceful, and she's basically telling Pamela, like, she's not going to take it, and blah blah blah, and where are my people, and how dare you. And they have this really great antagonistic scene, and Pamela gives her the what for of, you know, she's basically, you know, the nuts and bolts are that Pamela is expecting Yumiko to defend Eugene, because that would prosecute Eugene. To prosecute Eugene, because that would be good image, because here's this person that she has this prior relationship with, but that doesn't mean anything when it comes to justice. You have to be, you know, justice is blind and blah blah blah. So it's this whole image thing. and she's holding her friends as like a hostage thing.
Oh,
You'll
yeah.
never see your friends again if you don't do this.
Well, not just she says not only will you never see your friends again, but you have a lovely brother. It'd be a shame if something happened to him.
Yeah.
So I mean Pamela literally like kind of shows her cards and just lets Yumiko know that she's got no shot.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
She doesn't have Yumiko has no cards. Her only card is that she's got a good right hook, but she used it. Right. And on the wrong person. She really could have punched Pamela in the face. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, and like at one point, Yumiko, kind of accuses Pam of she's like, you have no respect for the law. And her response is, of course I do. I have intense respect for the law. That's why I hired you to prosecute Eugene, and yeah. And so, and Yumiko, like, she's so distressed by that, she goes to see Tommy, and he basically says, you probably should do that.
Yeah, you should toe the line, basically.
Because he's like, what other choice do you have? Otherwise, and he and Tommy, again, smart guy, the Yumiko's and her brother, they're not idiots. They're not dummies,
Yes.
And because he like guesses right away, he's like, oh, she probably threatened me too. And Yumiko's like, and so he's like, what other choice do you have? Because you'll never see your friends again if you don't go along with it. So maybe we have to sacrifice Eugene. And Yumiko is really torn. She doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, and then you have to decide, like, do you sacrifice the one person for the 15 it's gonna save, including children?
Yeah.
So
dog.
Yeah, and a dog. I mean, we don't know what kind of animal lover Yumiko is, but at least children would make you, think twice.
You'd like to think so, yeah.
One would hope. Cross your fingers on that one.
Maybe she doesn't care for kids.
Maybe she doesn't like children either. We don't know. So while that's sort of stewing in the political drama aspect, Carol and Daryl's plan was, we got to get the kids. We got to figure out where our family is. What's our next step? What's our next move? And they're like, I think it was Carol who's like, I think I know who can help us. And she's like, Lance knows every bad thing that's going on here. And Daryl's like, and that's how that scene ended. Daryl's like, I don't think we can get in there. It's going to be tough. And then Carol's like, it's going to be hard. He's like, isn't it always, pretty much? It's like, it's not going to be, that's what she says. She's like, we can do it. She's like, but it's not going to be easy. He's like, when is it ever?
Yeah. When is it? Yeah. That was before they go to the credits. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? I didn't think that, that they went there looking for Hornsby. I think they went there looking for their people because she knew that's where Hornsby would take people.
Oh, I didn't read that at all. I thought she went there knowing that Hornsby was in jail and knowing that he would have an idea of where the people were.
Yeah, that could totally be. Yeah, it just, the way they come in, they take out the two guards and then they like look in each cell. Yeah. And of course they're all empty except for the one that Hornsby's in. My first reaction was, oh, they thought maybe that their people were being held here and they just kind of stumbled on Hornsby, like, oh, okay, and so they went in and grabbed him. But again, either way.
Yeah, possibility, absolutely. There isn't anyone else in there though, and they do find Hornsby and they get into his cell and. I'd say he's it's generous to say he's really sort of hanging onto a thread of sanity, would you say?
No, he blew his sand roll, there's no doubt. Yeah. He's like muttering, there's always a way out. There's always a way out. And he's like holding the coin and he's just like, I don't know, I guess he decided to like roll around in all the guts on the floor because he was just covered. He looked like Rick Grimes. I mean, he had so much crud on him. It's like, dude, let the guy eat in the corner and stay away from him, right?
Yeah, like who would want to revel in that,
Yeah.
Gross. The whole thing was gross. And then they start to question him. He's teetering on the edge of sanity, so they have to rough him up a little to sort of like smack his face, get him awake. He's not responding because they're like, where are our people? Where would she take them? Where are our people? When he doesn't respond, Daryl takes his finger and he presses it into the scar on his face And it's so gross, but it's awesome.
Oh yeah.
And he's just about ready to clock him, and Carol's like, no, hang on. So she comes over, and she's a little more persuasive. She takes a different tack with him, not so much gentler, but just different. And she has her knife, her awesome knife with the finger holds. She holds
trench
it up
knife,
to
yeah.
and she holds it up to his face, and she's like, you've got two choices here. You're gonna tell us or you're gonna die. Like these are the and I think it's pretty clear that they don't have any compunction with killing him, And
Right.
it's a shame because he should have remembered that down the road.
Yeah, right.
And he didn't.
He does not. No.
No. Yeah, so that was great. And I want to say that was probably my only thing that disappointed me in the episode. And it's a trope that's used all the time, and I hate it. And especially when you get two characters that are as smart as Daryl and Carol are, and they're not just smart, but they're cunning, and they can see. He's right when he says that about Carol. She sees 10 steps ahead of where things are. Mm-hmm. She's always got a great plan, and then a plan within a plan within a plan. She's ready for anything, pretty much.
Unless she's running into a mine.
Right. That's different, though.
That's
different. I think we've established that running into a mine is
totally
running, different.
Not her thing.
Right. Yeah. And she's going to put people's lives in danger. It's fine. She gets a pass.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's been established.
I think it has.
Not. Anyway, so the trope that I don't like is I hate when you are like, you need to help us or we're going to kill you. And instead of information, the person is always like, let me show you.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, like it's going to get blue here. No, motherfucker. You need to, the knife is here. I don't want you to show me anything because I don't trust you and I never will. You tell me or you die. I can find out information from someone else.
But from his point of view, you have to assume he's thinking, if I tell you what you want to know, you're going to kill me because you don't need me anymore. So I have to, make it so you have to, the longer I can delay it, there might be an opportunity for me to get away. Maybe I can win you over, all that stuff. So
don't
get me wrong. You're right. It is a trope. There's no doubt. Sure. And I'm always the same thing. I'm like, really, just tell us,
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it is certainly a much used trope in these kind of adventure stories. Yeah, I'll help you, but you have to take me with you. It's like, oh, for the love of God.
Especially since he has definitely showcased, not so much to Carol because she wasn't on that little journey, but definitely to Daryl. He has showcased that he cannot be trusted out in the wilderness. He's going to find something. He's going to try and, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And he does. I mean, eventually, he, when he's in that tunnel with Carol and he all of a sudden forgets how to assist someone when they're killing.
I thought you were right behind me. Sorry.
Yeah. God, it's terrible. She should have killed him right then and there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Hornsby scene, it was great. It was gross. It was, and it only disappointed me a little bit with the whole like, let me show you. I'm like, no, don't let him leave, because once he does, it's gonna be different. And but they did anyway, and I'm like, ugh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got from there. We get a great interspersed scene. There's a lot of action with Carol and Daryl and Lance, and obviously trying to find out where the people are. But they keep interspersing with these really great sort of intrigue scenes. And this one with Yumiko and Eugene, it was really, really well done. Because I can't really think of a lot of times where Eugene and Yumiko had a lot of screen time together.
Just when they found Princess, when they went on the road, that was really
right.
it.
Yumiko was part of their group. That's right.
Yeah. But you're right. That was it.
Yeah, and that was a larger group of people. Princess was really the highlight of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I do enjoy that there's been some pairings of people that are, Daryl and Carol are, without question, will always work well together. But the other things of like, Jerry and Aaron in the last episode. Jerry, and it looks like, spoilers, but it looks like next week it's going to be a little bit Ezekiel and Negan. And I
Yeah.
think that's, and you know what I mean? Like, I appreciate that they're thinking outside the box with, like, you know, in crazy circumstances, you would be paired up with and in a scene with someone you might not have ever been in a scene with before. I liked that sort of flavor to the Yumiko and Eugene scene. And yes, they do have that history, the princess history. And getting to the Commonwealth. They all got to the Commonwealth together at the same time. So they have that shared sort of history and trauma together. But I loved that scene. It really felt like Eugene at his most peaceful in a lot of ways, because I think he's really accepted his fate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I like that he instilled some hope in Yumiko, which works out great down the end of the line, that he sort of instilled in her, like, keep your eyes open. There's always an opportunity to change. There's always an opportunity to help and fix something. And she seems pretty like, I don't think so. I don't think we're going to be able to get you out of here. This doesn't look good. It's not great.
Well, and on top of that, you know, before that scene, she runs into Connie.
Yes,
And
that's right.
Connie mentions that, like, the guy that was trying to abduct her, she, like, shot or stabbed in the leg, and he's in the hospital, which, because Yumiko goes to see Tommy. Tommy kind of gives her the, maybe you should go along with it because that will help everybody. And then as she's leaving, she runs into Connie. And so then Connie's like, I want to follow this guy because, you know, it might lead me to my sister, to Kelly, and everybody else. And Yumiko's like, you can't do that because they know they're looking for you. That won't work. And so she goes, I'll follow him. So she does, and she totally screws it up and gets made that she's trying to tail him because he, like, you know, she kind of loses him, and then she walks around a corner and there he is looking right at her like, hello, you know. And then Pamela even brings it up of, like, did you enjoy your little walk today? And it was just more, I got that it was more to just reinforce with Yumiko that Pamela just is winning on all fronts and there is no hope. So she goes to see Eugene basically to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, that they're going to kill you and I'm going to be the one that's going to, you know, be in front leading the charge, and I don't have a choice, and I'm really, really sorry. And I agree. I like that Eugene, you know, Eugene, like, remembers the show and is like, you know, our friends are pretty good at, like, getting out of bad scrapes.
They really are.
And so it's like, even though it looks bad right now, you know, he's like, you know, it is. I made this line up. It would have been funny if he said something like, just remember, it's always darkest before the proverbial dawn. You know, but that's what he says. He looks like, look, you know, we have to persevere, and with the idea that, you know what, one of our friends, our people will find a way out. And will be able to give us the advantage. We just have to hold on. And that was something that up until that point, Yumiko was just not considering. She was just like, oh my God, Pamela is just kicking the crap out of us right now.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
It's almost like, I hate to say it, but I think he's also giving her permission to play along, because if she plays along with Pamela, it extends everything. If she pushes back, it's gonna escalate everything much quicker. If she accepts.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. What were you?
I was just saying, if she pushes back, you know, Pamela might just execute everybody, right? I mean,
exactly. Exactly. But she knows that Pamela wants a show, and Pamela wants this, that, and the other to be very public. So he's almost giving her permission to, like, you know, slide into the role. Do the things you have to do, and keep your eyes open, because the opportunity will present itself. You just have to be ready for it, you know. But I appreciate that he's giving her the permission, and he's also letting her off the hook. He tells her, if it doesn't work, I'm ready. I'm ready to sacrifice myself, because he also knows that if nothing works and they can't find an opportunity and he's killed, it takes all the pressure off the people he cares about most, like his closest people, like Rosita, and also Max, and take all the pressure off of them.
That I think that's the big thing, is that he knows that as long as he keeps up the I acted alone and it's just me, Max will be safe. And that's his overriding thing. Yeah, he wants all of his friends to be okay, but it's like, no, look,
the Max thing is the most important.
Yeah. If I sacrifice myself, Max will be okay. And he like you said, he's just like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And I thought that was really beautiful, you know. And I love when he just starts laughing. He's like an almost convicted felon, pretty much, you know.
Yeah.
You know, take it with a grain of salt kind of thing. And it was just a really great scene. You know, I really liked that. I would never have expected at this stage of the game, if you were to say, we're going to have a really great scene between Yumiko and Eugene, if you said that like 3 weeks ago, I'd be like,
what?
Really? In what context? Like, how does that? But it was unexpected. And I think that's part of the pleasure out of it. Like we were saying, these odd pairings. And I loved it.
I believe the correct response to that proposed scene would be, huh?
Huh? Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Huh? Yeah. So Eugene is so glass half full is how I wrote it. It's kind of weird, and he has actually kind of oddly accepted his fate. So yeah. So we pivot away from there. Excuse me. And we get this really great long scene with Carol and Lance. And it's great because it starts out with this great, like, he just will not shut up.
Right.
He is definitely that person that he can't exist in a quiet space. He has to fill it with jibber jabber. So
I know people like that.
I like quiet moments. How dare you, sir? I can sit quietly. You have no idea.
Okay. Okay. Prove me wrong, kid. Prove me wrong.
Have I ever spoken to you during a movie? No.
Okay, wow. During a movie, that's what you're hanging your hat on, huh? Okay.
There are people who have conversations during movies.
Moving on.
Anyway, so he's doing all of his best to, like, you know, he's nervous, he's jibber jabbering, but he's also kind of probing because he's no dummy. He's probing with Carol and asking questions about, and he gets to the crux of it. And I actually think it's a great question to ask. He gets to the point where he's like, well, I appreciate, like, you have a goal. You know, you want to save your friends, save your families, and you want to take Pamela down because she's done these terrible things. And I agree and all that. But his point is, what happens after that? And Carol's kind of frustrated with it. She's like, it's not my problem. Like, right. I don't run
care.
The Commonwealth. I don't care. These are my people. We have our own community and all of that. So she's basically like, I want my people. We're going back to Alexandria, you know.
And then you guys can sort it all out, and whatever happens, happens. Yeah, she's just like, look, I don't give a shit what happens here, you know.
Exactly. And he makes a good point. And he says when it comes after, when everything's all said and done, there'll be a power vacuum. And as much as I know that he brings it up because the power play is he wants to run the Commonwealth. Let's be honest. Yeah. He's like, I could easily step right in and da 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 da. But when he brings it up, it's a good point to know, like, if Pamela is taken down, I mean, and that's ultimately what they want to do, is to take her down. Who will run the Commonwealth? I mean, we talked last week about it possibly being somebody like Ezekiel, because he has a lot of favor with, like, the everyday Commonwealth, you know, resident that knows him because he's helped them with, like, the little sort of secret clinic and all of that stuff. So I think that that's a possibility, you know, maybe Mercer or something like that. But it does beg the question, you know, with Pamela gone and now Hornsby's gone too. You know, if Pamela's not in power, I take it back. Pamela not in power, and with no Hornsby to step into that power vacuum, or at least try to, that's a concern, because that's a lot of people without someone to lead them. Yep. He says that. He's like 50,000 people with no leader. That's a lot. That's a lot.
That is. And he also points out that when those types of power vacuums happen, the people who suffer the most are the common people.
True.
You know, the civilians. True. Yeah, you know. So,
yeah, exactly. So they're having this whole conversation. I just thought it makes you think a lot, you know. And then it's, you know, there's a a jeep and there's some soldiers and they've got to hide, and he's like, I know a way, and I'm like, oh, don't follow him.
I know. It's just like, what
Stop
are you
it.
doing, Carol? Yeah,
You're
it's
so
just
much
like,
smarter than this. And he's like, let's go into this really dark cave. Really?
yeah.
Where have we seen this play out before? What's in a
I-
really dark cave? Zombies? Maybe.
Zombies, perhaps.
Yeah.
But maybe he did his research and found out that Carol really has a thing for running into dark caves.
It's true. It's true. He knew. He read her Wikipedia page.
He did.
He's like, Carol.
He met Samantha Morton at a convention, and she said, you know how you can get Carol? Run into a mine of some sort. She will follow you no matter what. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because she's thinking about the end game. She's not thinking about, oh, this seems very dangerous. We should not do this. Anyway, oh God, poor Carol.
Carol.
She had a rough little time there where she was just, not making smart decisions.
No.
And not the smart decisions that we know her for, So we get these great scenes where they're, of course they come upon a whole crowd of ghouls, and of course there's a struggle, and of course, Lance is almost killed, but she steps in to help, and of course, like, the flashlight drops and he can't see anything, so it's creepy and strange. And of course, like, at one point you're like, okay, the flashlight's up again. Who's holding the flashlight?
Yeah.
And why isn't he helping her? And yeah, so he's a total dick. But I did want to say, before we talk about the politics of the scene, what a great, that last ghoul that she killed.
Mm-hmm.
You put it in your notes too. I mean, just the skin sliding all the way up, and the face reveal and his creepy eyes, and that was such a great ghoul. That was really, really well done. A lot of really cool, like, practical effects there with, like, the peeling the skin off. Yeah.
But I mean, not just like the face. I mean, like, she grabs hold on like below the shoulders and pulls.
Yeah.
And it just comes off from the top of his scalp, and it slides all the way off of his face, off of his neck and his shoulder. I mean, like, he's like basically skinless from like the waist up. It was great. It was
amazing.
Really well done. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they kind of set it up a little, because when they first come into the tunnel, before they run into the ghouls, Lance is like, is that skin? And there's this like whole like a ghoul like molted or something, because it's almost like a full body piece of skin lying on the ground. You're like, ew, disgusto.
Yeah. I feel like that's the knee-jerk reaction from now on, is as soon as they pointed out the skin, I was like, oh, whispers.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I'm like, maybe the Whispers use this as like a place to make masks or something.
Yeah, I honestly thought that was gonna happen. Like, oh, we had this, tunnel and we didn't end up using it, and it didn't work out the way we wanted it to, and eventually we saw some people that were here, but they left us alone, and da 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 da. Like, I didn't know where they were gonna go with it, but I was like, I would totally expect it to be like, the only thing we've ever seen come in and out of here is,
Zombies,
some of the dead, and you're like, how would the dead know to come in and out of here? And I don't know. But I'm right there with you. I totally was like, whispers. Yeah. And I thought that was cool, because that's 2 weeks in a row where we had scary moments where the first instinct is whispers.
Yeah.
And both of them involved pulling the skin off the face. And they're like, holy eyeballs, man.
Yeah. And I thought, I was looking for, okay, was that the skin ghoul? We'll just refer to that one as that. Was that supposed to be one of the slasher horror movie ghouls? But I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't look like anybody from any, doesn't look like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy. Doesn't look like Michael Myers. So who could it have? I don't know. So
could it have been an homage to Tarman?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly could have, but Nicotero made a point of saying these were like horror movie slasher serial killer guys, not other zombies. So, but again, it could be. I mean, and again, Aisha Tyler's a super fan, so she's probably aware of the Romero universe movies and Return and all those. So maybe, but I don't know. I would love to have somebody from the show or Nicotero's group from KNB at some point out in each of these episodes. Here's the Freddy Krueger, and here's this guy, and here, so you can go, oh yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or they just need to be more obvious. Like the Freddy one was pretty obvious.
It was very obvious. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe there's more. I mean, he said that there would be a few.
Yeah,
so
and they could just be spacing them out too. So
it's true. That's totally true. Yeah, but definitely Lance is a big weasel because he didn't help Carol. And here's this person that like down the road when he's like, what? I'm changed. I'm a different person. I'm not that guy. And being in that jail cell changed me. No, it didn't.
No, it didn't. No.
Opportunistic weasel is what he is. And he showed his true colors,
Yeah.
Not helping someone in a fight like that is very, like, even if you're like, I don't know what to do. Hand me a weapon. Do you want me to try and fight or should I hold the light? What do you want me to do? Like, but he just stood there and did nothing.
Stood there and watched, yeah. Well, he kind of, as soon as they decided to get him out of the cell and he snapped out of his insanity, you knew he hadn't changed because what does he do? But he's like, before we leave, there's something I have to do. And when Pamela comes into the cell, he's like cracked open Sebastian's head and scooped out all of his brains and left his coin in like all of his guts, right? For her to find. I mean, that was a message. That was a calling card for him, basically saying, fork you, I'm out.
Yeah. No, go ahead, finish.
I was gonna say, if he's the changed man he claims to be, he wouldn't have done that,
Agreed. I'm wondering too, like, the image of his smashed head, it was very Negan. It was very Glenn and Abraham.
Yeah.
That just that crushed. I don't want to say I was shocked, but it was not what I was expecting. Because when she came in and was like, oh, I was like, you've already seen what he looks like. I didn't understand because she's already seen what he looks like as a ghoul.
Mm-hmm.
And all that they did was stick the knife in his head.
Yeah.
And he's done. So he's basically exactly the same. But then when they show the camera, I literally was like, oh, like that. It was really graphic. It was really graphic. And even though he was a ghoul, it was still, I mean, that smash was very evocative of the Negan smashes. And I thought it was gross, but also it was effective. It really was like, I didn't feel any empathy for Pamela. But in that moment, I was like, I can understand that. Oh my God, like it was shocking. And then the coin as well. Mm-hmm. Like the calling card of the coin is basically, that's what makes it the worst. Is like,
right.
I did this.
Yeah. Guess what? I did it.
Yeah.
And it, it's like the finality of it too, because I mean, I'm sure on some level Pamela understood that he had died, but he was still moving around in this universe. And so that's where the crazy sets in, and people are able to, the brain will just say, no, they're not dead, they're just sick, or
they're just sleepy,
because clearly they're not dead, because dead people don't walk around, right? And so you kind of have that mechanism, that fallback, because again, up until the dead started to get up and walk around, they never did that before. That was what we've taught. From the moment we're born, we're taught that things live and then they die, and once they die, that's it. They don't come back. And now suddenly they are. And now when she sees that he's been literally put down, it like brings it home officially that you know what, now your son is dead.
Yeah.
And so it's but which is good because it might snap her out of the crazy, but it's bad because now she's pissed.
Oh yeah.
Now it's retribution, and now it's, what, we're gonna hunt all of these people down and we're gonna stake them out on the anthills with the honey, and just like let you know what I mean? Just we're gonna really make an example out of them. So, and that we haven't really seen that yet, but you certainly get the sense that Pamela is, ready to do all that.
Yeah, definitely. We sort of pivot from the Carol and Daryl scene to Man, that press conference, so many great things in that scene, and and they stacked them so nicely. And based on, it's actually the timing of it, they did they came out of that's the thing. I was trying to remember the timing of stuff. Carol and Lance get out of the tunnel. They're surrounded by soldiers, but Daryl had snuck onto like underneath the Jeep.
Yeah.
And he comes out and they off all the soldiers. So they're victorious, of course. But at the very start of that press conference, there's that great scene where Pamela basically, that's that moment when she was like, "Did you enjoy your walk today?"
Oh yeah, yeah.
And she's like, you could tell like Yumiko was stunned, but she's got a response right away, and she's like, "Lovely day, had a great day." And she was just like, Pamela wasn't having it. She's like, I'm in charge, oh, and we got your friend Connie and da da da. And she's literally like, she's got her hand on the wound and she is pressing as hard as she can. And Yumiko doesn't flinch. She's so good. She doesn't flinch at all. And I'm so glad because that they built it up this way, because she's a lawyer and she's so good at not giving anything away on her face. She's got to be that. She's got to have that impasse face for when she's in a courtroom, So she's got like years of experience doing that. And here's Pamela trying to get under her skin, and she's basically like, "Oh, I want to get her so bad, but she can't." And Tommy's there, and she's nervous about Tommy. She doesn't want him to be injured. And just as she's about to, Pamela speaks for a second and introduces Yumiko. But as she walks past, there's a soldier on stage.
Yeah, a colonel.
Yeah, and her walkie-talkie, she hears that about the crew that Daryl and Carol had just killed.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we found and Dixon and Pelletier, they got away. We're still searching, blah, blah, blah. But they basically like, we found a couple of soldiers, they're gone in the Jeep and whatever, and they got away. And it's probably the first time that Yumiko had even known that Daryl and Carol weren't rounded up as part of her group. She probably didn't know. She probably thought Connie was the last thing. But as she walks by and gets that information, it's like there's a little seed that's put in her. And she's mulling it over. And when she's introduced, she toes the line at first, and you can tell she's reading from the script. She knows her lines, as Pamela said. So she's reading from her little speech that Pamela gave her. But then she deviates. And it's so smart, her deviation about Tommy, because she basically is reminding everybody that's in this room that they're siblings. And if something bad happens to Tommy, it's because of retribution for something that she's involved in. She's basically pointing out that he's the salt of the earth and would never do anything. So like, I'm involved in this legal thing, which gets a little hairier the more she speaks, but she almost is laying the groundwork for anything. You cannot touch him. He is a valued member of your group. He's a thoracic surgeon. You all know him. You know how respected and loved he is and how necessary he is. And he stands up and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I know him. I've seen him before." Like, and then makes it visual. So everybody sees him. And then she is about to continue and she's like, and then she goes off and does her thing. And she says, I'm going to defend him and blah, blah, blah. Such a great scene. Such a great scene. And I loved when she was finished and she flipped the speech right at Pamela. And what were your thoughts? You wrote some stuff down and I want to make sure we hit your stuff as well. So well done.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, Pamela's an idiot to be talking to the soldier out loud about the escapees in front of her. That was dumb.
Yeah.
And then the woman having her walkie-talkie loud enough for other people to hear, that was dumb.
Yeah.
But I did, I wrote down Yumiko. If my cousin Vinny isn't available, I want her to be my lawyer, because she realizes that if she shines a light on Tommy and makes him public, then Pamela can't do anything to him.
Right.
And it's not so much. I took it to be, it's not so much, Yumiko's going to go do something crazy, and if something were to happen to Tommy, it would be retaliation. It was just more of, by introducing him and bringing him out into the spotlight, right, everybody knows who he is. Everybody knows his face, and if he suddenly disappears, that's going to cause a lot of questions.
Right.
And so again, smart lady. And then, when she, kind of goes off script and announces she's going to defend Eugene, my favorite moment was when she finishes, she turns and she looks at Pamela, and the look on her face was priceless, because it was literally, I mean, if you were to write "fork you" on her forehead, it would have been more obvious. I mean, it was just so great. She was just staring daggers at her like, I got you. You know what I mean? And it was so awesome. But then my favorite line of the whole episode was after she walks off stage, that poor PR guy comes back up to the mic and he's like, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will not be taking any more questions. It was so great. Oh, I laughed so hard. It was just a nice little, yeah.
I was going to say kudos to him, because in the shock of the moment, most people wouldn't have had the wherewithal to be like, and that's it, folks, we're done.
And
you know what I mean?
Done.
But
yeah, right. Yeah.
He definitely did a good job, because he was on it and was like, oh shit, I got to wrap this up. And
right.
We're good. See you later.
But it was so great, because like you said, it was a really intense scene, and then they end it, with this little like comedy flourish that just, you're so into it and so intense. Oh my God, what's gonna happen? And then I was just laughing out loud when he said that. I thought that was just a wonderful way to end that scene, to bring it all back to, okay, you can breathe. You can exhale now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
I loved everything about that scene. It's funny. I was just thinking about this. It's a possibility if she makes it through, Yumiko would be a good leader as well.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
And she has motivation to stay in the Commonwealth because of Tommy.
Yeah.
And I think she'd be a great person to be like, don't you see? I wanted to fight for what's actually correct, not Pamela wanted to force me to do something and force my hand, and I wouldn't stand for that, and I would never, you know what I mean? I can almost see the campaign slogans for her,
Mm-hmm.
And she's smart, and she definitely showed who she is to people, and she might be a good choice too. I'd be interested to see how Yumiko fares with down the road, but I mean, we shall see.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of people who will wonder how they're fare, I'm not sure Lance is gonna. I'm not sure he's gonna make it. I don't know.
Well, he might show up again.
We didn't see him die, did we? Did we see him take the last breath?
Oh yeah. As you pointed out, it was gurgly death.
I loved it. I mean, and that's 2 weeks in a row. Was it last week? Was the Sebastian? Or the one before? It was
last week, yeah.
Oh God, he just it's just so and especially when it's deserving people. If it's someone who you're going to cry about, that's not a great way to go.
Yeah.
But if it's someone who kind of deserved a little bit of pain on their way out, choke on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. So what do you think? Do you think we're going to see a Ghoul Lance?
Oh yeah, I hope so. I hope we get to see it. Yeah. And my guess would be if I had my choice, I would think at some point we're gonna have like a massive herd or horde of ghouls breach the walls of Commonwealth.
Okay.
And I think it would be cool if he's just in there, in the group, in the horde somewhere, and he stumbles by the camera. You know what I mean? I think that
stumbles
would
by
be fun.
Pamela and she's like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, right. That would be pretty great. But I could see them doing that too, where like Pamela makes a run for it in her limo, and they run off the road, and she gets out and is kind of staggering through the woods, and then she comes upon reanimated Lance, who now gets to get his coin back, and take a big chunk out of her foot or something. That would be fun too.
That would be great. Oh my God.
I did like it where he's like, they're telling him that he can leave, and he's like, I won't make it out there, and Carol's like, well, you're a smart guy, you might make it.
That whole scene, one of the things that I loved about that is, could Carol and Daryl have had a moment off, where we didn't see it, where they're like, this guy's done for, he's not coming with us and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They could have, but I like the idea better that they didn't, and they both just knew from years of having each other's back. I would love to think that they just knew what the next step was, and they both went the same route without even needing to tell each other that they've been down this road before. They've had to off someone before, or at least say, you can go off in the woods by yourself. I just don't ever want to see your face again, is basically what we're going to do.
If I see you again, I'm just going to shoot you and call it self-defense. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't think there was any sort of like off-camera discussion. I think both of them had dealt with Hornsby enough to know that he, like you said, he's a weasel, and you can't trust him, and he will turn on you at the first opportunity. And so once he gave away the train thing, like Daryl said, we don't really need you anymore, because we can just follow the train to where they are.
Oh, for sure.
And so but where I do agree with you is that Daryl and Carol are enough of a team that as soon as Daryl made that play, Carol was right there like, yep, you got to go.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
We're finished. Yep. I do think it was kind of like, we're getting towards the end, so we're going to have more and more moments of like, this thing that's been running on one track. Yeah, sorry for the train reference. I didn't even mean it. But this thing that's running on this track and this storyline that's running on this track are going to intersect in a really convenient way. But unfortunately, because it's the series coming to an end, we just need to kind of take some of that convenience and just toss it out the window, because there's nothing we can do about it. It's just going to happen. And when he says that we're building a train that's making it all the way out to the sea, if you don't think that doesn't mean that there's going to be some kind of moment on the train with Aaron and the rest of the folks that are going to Oceanside, then you're nuts. I can't wait to see that happen. So there's going to be some kind of confrontation, or something that involves the train is going to involve the community to Oceanside, whether Aaron and Gabriel are part of that, Aaron and Jerry, or if like, the folks that were left behind at the Oceanside, are they going to rise up and maybe, I don't know. But
now it makes me think when Hornsby flipped the coin at Oceanside, and we still have not gotten any resolution on that, by the way. Maybe what happened, the result of that was the Oceansiders and Virgil and, not that we'll ever see Luke again, but, all of the Oceanside people that were big enough to have a name, they're all at the camp where everyone else is on their way to now.
I think that's a possibility too. Yeah. And we'll find out next week, because that's definitely in the clips, is that we see them like arrive at some location.
Some kind of what's it called? Outpost 22, I think, is the name of the episode.
Yeah.
And we see like a big terminus kind of building, and it says Outpost 22 in big letters on it. So we'll have to see what the hell that is all about.
Anything else that we maybe didn't discuss with this week's points that we need to hit before we go ahead and take our break?
In the scene in the cave with the skin peel, I really liked when the flashlight got kicked away and we're supposed to believe Carol's in total darkness, although they were at least, Angela Kang probably had gotten very angry letters from the Biter girls, and so she made sure there was enough light that you could still see.
Yes.
But the illusion is that Carol's basically literally in the dark, and so I like that she used the machine gun, the muzzle flash. So yes, she was killing Zeds, but she was basically doing it to see. Yeah. And you would kind of get that kind of strobe effect as she's firing. You get just a brief instant of enough light to see, and then she used that because if you notice, she kind of shot in all directions, right? She'd shoot a little onto one side, then a little on the other, and then in front, then behind. I thought that was a cool moment. Again, Carol, except when she's actually running towards a mine, is usually very smart. And here was another example of it. She didn't panic. She just used the machine gun. And again, you think, wow, that's a big waste of ammo, but at the same time, it saved her life.
It did. And, it's fine. I mean, as long as she's on her 2 feet on flat ground, she can waste all the ammo she wants. It's when she starts to like slide down.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when it gets bad.
That's right. Then she gets a little Ernst on her.
Yeah, and then that's not good.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. And then the other thing, this was just kind of a nit that I picked was when Daryl and Carol go into the cell where Lance is, there's whoever was in charge of makeup continuity for Josh totally drops the ball, because when you first see him and he's like playing with the coin, his face is just Rick Grimed up with blood, from his hairline all the way to his chin, both cheeks. I mean, it's all over. And when literally Daryl picks him up and throws him against the wall and is like, you better start talking. And when he does that, they cut to him throwing Lance against the wall, and he has like one streak of blood on his face. I mean, it's like clearly they cleaned him up between shots and did not like re-blood him up before they started shooting. So it was just a little boo-boo there in the continuity that just made me kind of laugh, because I'm like, yeah, Josh is like, I don't need any more. I'm good. So
I'm good with the amount of blood. We don't have to. Nope, I don't need more.
I don't know. I'm fine. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. So that just made me chuckle, and that's just a movie making, like how the sausage is made moment for me that I laughed at. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. All right. I think that's it. I think we can stick a fork in this one.
Woo! No, we can stick an arrow in its neck.
Yes, that's what we should do. That's the signifying moment, and then the episode will then gurgle to a halt.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that was that not awesome?
It was awesome. It was so awesome.
Yeah, that was the other point that I made on there. I said, and the who gets to kill Lance winner is Carol.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. With an arrow in the neck. Well done, man.
Oh, it was so great.
I love a good satisfying death.
Did you think, the I'm gonna grab the gun and try and shoot you guys, were you satisfied with that choice from him? I almost thought, I'm like, really, is Lance that much of a fighter that he thinks he can take out those two people that are already armed? Whereas, if he walks away and, they don't shoot him in the back, at least he's alive and he might be able to figure out a way to, survive in some way. I don't know. Again, like you just said, the show's wrapping up, so they can't have these stories go on forever. But I did kind of look at that little moment like, I don't know if Lance would have done that. What did you think?
Well, it was a flash decision. You know what I mean? He had to make a quick decision on the fly, because I think there was a little bit more than the gun there. There was the gun, but the gun was also in the Jeep, which would be a way for him to get away. So he'd be able to, whether he killed them or not, I honestly think that the motivation was to get the Jeep, which probably also had supplies and like that. I think was the ultimate goal, other than, and if he killed Carol and Daryl, sure, because he doesn't have to worry about being pursued. But I think the lifeline, because you and I both know, having a weapon and having a vehicle, and you're definitely doing really well to stay ahead of a herd or whatever.
Oh, so God, yeah.
I think he made a measured choice. I would have believed the scene a little bit more if he'd grabbed it and made a move to be behind the car.
Exactly, right? Grab the Jeep and then
Yeah, but it was kind of a clumsy grab, and he left himself open for being shot,
Right.
Because he knows they have guns too. They literally just mowed down all of those soldiers that were right there.
Daryl had one of the machine guns. So just again, Daryl and Carol are smart, and Carol used an arrow because it wouldn't make as much noise and less chance of attracting more ghouls. So
of course, because she's smart. She's so smart.
She is.
She is so smart. All right, so we're going to be smart and take a quick break, folks. When we come back, we're going to discuss the listener feedback we received and what's coming up on the podcast.
So stick around. We'll be right back.
The following is an emergency action message. Civil authorities have identified a biological threat that they deem credible. This threat could potentially affect the entire continental United States.
The dead are returning to life and attacking the living.
911, what's your emergency?
There's a man on bed and he's attacking another man. Looks like he's biting him, like on the arm.
The initial signs are puzzling, unclear.
Getting pulled out of their cars and thrown to the ground. It looks like the bus passengers are biting their victims.
Soon, however, the reality is clear and undeniable.
The crisis involving the recently dead continues. Parliament today passed a law that requires all bodies of the recently deceased to be registered and turned
Toxic
over.
Bag Productions has captured the sounds of the zombie apocalypse and brought them to your gaming table. Background ambiences, zombie attacks, and radio transmissions that set the scene for your modern zombie adventure. Download MP3s from DriveThruRPG.com or ToxicBag.com.
Hey there, Internet. Do you like scary movies? What about going way off the rails while discussing your favorites, like Nightmare on Elm Street?
Can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you look
Can you
fine.
see me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't
Are
see
you
a
okay,
thing.
Summer?
Tell us what you're seeing.
Friday the 13th. She's like, you're driving this whole thing, so it's like you're either gonna steer us to safety or you're gonna careen us all up to our death.
Either way, I'm
I can
fine
see
with
Summer
it.
doing a barrel roll out of a car now.
I know. Down a cliff, down some fields.
Halloween.
Exactly. Tom. And that mustache and that butt.
Oh my god.
And more. Trust me when I say that there's no movie that we can't derail right off the cliff. So come check out the Dolls of Horror podcast with your hosts, Girl on Gore Jamie and Summer of Fear. And me, producer Jesse, as we tackle all the horror movies, both new and old, and hopefully give you a laugh or two along the way. The Dolls of Horror is available on all podcast streaming services, including Apple and Spotify. Visit thedollsofhorror.com for more information.
Hi, I'm Ross Marquand, and you're listening to the Aim for the Head podcast with Diana and Steve. And remember, always aim for the head, because body shots just don't work.
Hey, everybody, we are back. And we always want to thank Mr. One Take Marquand for his lovely little thing there he did for us for the show. Thanks again, Ross.
Very cool.
We're going to jump feet first right into our feedback we received. And first up, Steve, why don't you go ahead and take care of this email we got from Andy?
All right. We started the international desk, and this is for the last two episodes, for episode 18 and 19.
Yes.
So the New Deal, or whatever that one was called, and Lockdown, I think, are the two, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and so Andy, this comes via the email, of course, because that's how Andy talks to us, and he says, "Hello, Diana. Hello, Steve." So we get our own separate greeting. How cool is that?
Ooh, fancy. I
like that. He goes, "I'm glad everything is fine and you are podcasting again. A few comments. The CRM wouldn't wipe out the Commonwealth. The goal of the CRM is to get rid of the walkers and bring back civilization. Destroying every community they find makes no sense for this. They only eliminate communities who are a threat for the civil republic because they know their position or receive too much resources. In addition, they were only able to eliminate a community as big as Omaha by using poison gas. The gas got destroyed and their scientists are gone, so they lost their ability to do this. I think you remember Sebastian's end in the comics wrong." And he says, comic spoiler ahead. "At Reddit, I've read he wasn't killed, but he got imprisoned. and this didn't raise tension between the groups. Rick already had overthrown Pamela and became the hero of the Commonwealth. That was the reason why Sebastian got pissed and ultimately kills Rick. So,
Yes.
And then he finishes up saying, a walker picking up a rock to smash someone's skull makes no sense. Walkers don't want to kill humans, but to eat them. I'm looking forward to hear from you again, Andy. So, Andy, thank you so much for writing. The Sebastian thing, you're probably right. I need to reread the comics because I haven't read the whole thing in a few years. So some of the details are a little fuzzy for me.
Yes.
So yeah,
and same. I which is why I goofed the Sebastian thing. I thought that he was. I know that spoiler. I know that Sebastian's the one that kills Rick.
But we were right though, because we both remember that he didn't get killed by ghouls.
Correct. Yes.
And so we just made the jump of, oh well, then somebody
still a change from his comic book.
Yes, it changed from the comic book, and that somebody just killed him in the comic book, and that's where we made the mistake. But good catch there, and so that we're sorry about that. As far as the Commonwealth, though, I don't know, man. I got the sense from World Beyond that the Commonwealth's whole thing is they cozy up to a community, they infiltrate it, they see what is useful in it, people wise, resource wise, and once they extract that stuff, they just wipe them out. Again, I might be wrong, but that's what I took from it. I mean, I have to go back and watch it, but they wiped out Omaha, but they were talking about wiping out the other settlement that Omaha was allied with also. So
yes.
I don't think, how could they not look at the Commonwealth as a threat? I mean, like you said, Andy, the Commonwealth is huge, right? They have a huge army, they have resources, they have, they could be a real adversary. So why wouldn't the CRM want to wipe them out or infiltrate? So I don't know though. I mean, again, it's all speculative because we don't really know all that much about the CRM, but that was my recollection on it.
And what their motivations were. It's not like the Colonel just sat there and went, "Here's why we did what we did." We didn't get that scene. Yeah. So it's inference and extrapolation based on what they did and what Andy got from it and what someone else may have got from it is perfectly valid.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I don't think we've been given the "this is why we do what we do" moment. But I agreed, Andy, that's they could decide to not do anything with the Commonwealth.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that the possibility exists that we'll see the CRM only because I think it's possible. Like the CRM has got to know the Commonwealth exists.
Wouldn't you think so?
Yeah, it's just too big.
Yeah.
It's a big community. It's surrounded by a wall. How would you not see it?
Hey, they have a freaking train.
Yeah. They've got a train that they're working on, and they've got a helicopter. They've got many helicopters.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we talked about that at length. But I do have to take issue with Andy talking about the walkers not picking up rocks and smashing. That's logic, sir, and I won't have it. I'm sorry. You can't bring your logic to this argument.
You got to kind of park it at the door. But I will point out that in the George Romero universe, this is not unheard of. And in fact, in both Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, we do see ghouls using things as tools. Like in Night of the Living Dead, a ghoul picks up the burnt out torch and uses it to try and smash through the door. Like he starts banging it against the door. And in Dawn of the Dead, we see a ghoul pick up a tire iron and smash the truck window that Roger is in. So, I mean, it's not unheard of. It's just rare that every once in a while you get a ghoul that has a little glimmer of, rational thought. And the doctor with the eye patch in Dawn of the Dead that we just see on the television, he points out that this is not unusual and that even animals adopt the basic use of tools like this. So it's not intelligence. It's not that they're still human. It's just actually a normal thing. So I don't know. I didn't have as much problem with the ghoul picking up the rock. I thought it was kind of cool because it shows you that, that walker is clearly much more analytically thinking than the other ghouls.
And I looked at it too as you can also chalk it up to mimicry.
Yeah.
You know, perhaps they saw someone do something and they had the ability to store some kind of vestige of that in order to recreate something they saw. It's not about their, you know, what Andy's saying there with like the motivation. I don't think there's a motivation there, but there could, I mean, and maybe depending on what we see with these variants, there could still be a motivation portion of their brain that lives. But I think it's more likely that, you know, those ones they've seen before that, you know, hover around areas they remember and things like that, that there are some types of echoes and things like that. And perhaps there is like a wisp of something and they mimic what they see. Because all they do is watch people try and defend themselves around them. And perhaps there was someone that ghoul had just had an instance with somewhere out in the woods, and someone picked up a rock and threw it at him.
Yeah,
and
or tried to smash him.
Exactly. So it could, like I said, it could just be mimicry, and that's something that we've definitely seen in the animal kingdom. You know, that they would see you do something and then try and do the same thing, and that's why you explain the velociraptor opening the door. You know, they open the door because they watched them do the same thing, and they're like, oh, is this? Oh, look at that. That's how I open the door.
No, the correct response is clever girl.
Yeah, she is a clever girl. But we do have to thank you, Andy, for writing in. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. I love it. It gets the discussion going. It's great.
Exactly. That's my favorite part, when people write in something that has us have a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot to say. Our next person that wrote in via Twitter, Nana and 7 via Twitter. That's her handle.
Mm-hmm.
And all they said about the episode was boring.
Okay, so don't sugarcoat it. Tell us what you think.
Right, and I don't know that that's gonna spark a lot of conversation between me and you, but that's definitely what Nana thought about the episode, and
yeah,
she's got a perfect right to feel that way.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. So and I don't know, I can't. I'm wondering, is this her first bit of feedback with us?
I think so. I'm not sure. The handle doesn't look familiar, so I don't think we've seen feedback from Nana previously. So thanks for writing in. I mean, the episode obviously didn't speak to you, but it was enough that you wanted to let us know how you felt. So thank you.
No, that's awesome, man. Well, welcome. If this is your first time, welcome.
Yes. Welcome to the group.
All right, so moving along, we got another piece of feedback from our pal Amelia, from Pitney and Amelia's Bitchin' Boutique. So hello, Amelia.
Hello, Amelia.
Welcome back yet again, and she has been very consistent, and it's awesome. And this came via the email, and she has had some issues with numbering the episodes so far. She's
been treating it kind of funny, because I agree with her. It's like, this would ordinarily be, considering the time of year, this would be like episode 4 season 12, you know, but it's not. It's episode 20. And so the last time she was like 3 or 19, whatever the hell they're calling this stuff.
Yeah. Well, this time she made it funny because she goes episode 4, and then she wrote 20, and then she wrote 420, and then she went wee, which I believe is some sort of marijuana reference, but I don't know anything about that stuff.
That's the demon weed.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's Reefer Madness, people. That's a hell of a documentary. You should check it out. Anyway, Amelia starts off by saying, "Here we go. Kicking it off with Daryl getting his ass kicked and our folks having been disappeared was powerful." And powerful is all in caps. "It's been a bit since we've seen our people in this much peril, and Carol to the rescue? Seems appropriate. The queen will always save the day. And Yumiko is on a legal rampage, and Pamela better watch her back. We've never really seen Yumiko be a lawyer, and I doubt we've got time for courtroom drama, but I'm here for it anyway. The show has definitely become much more about women than about men since Angela Kang took the wheel, hasn't it? I'll never complain about that. She goes, just saw a preview for the next one, and I'm already biting my nails in anticipation. We're on the downhill stretch, y'all. Can you believe it? And I know I can't. I can't believe that we're at the halfway point, and we're on the final, the final bit. I mean, it's going to be sad, but it's going to be awesome. So we got to just enjoy it for what it is. And Amelia, I agree with you. This is the most peril that the majority of the group has been in in a while. And it does make sense that Carol would kind of slide into the rescue, because that's what Carol does. So
yeah, absolutely. That's her MO, as we saw at the beginning of the episode. She just comes to people's aid. That's who she is. All right, so next up we got some feedback via the Facebook from our pal Karen, air quotes, not Lauren, Cohen. I added in the not Lauren. I think it's hilarious.
Look, all I said was, if you were related to Lauren, that would have just been, cool. That's all I said. So.
Okay. But she's not, but we still point it out, and it's still funny, and I like it.
Yes.
Because who doesn't like a joke that goes on and on and on? So speaking of Karen wrote in some feedback via the Facebook, as I said, and she says, this episode was so meh for me. She says, yes, I have to really pick and choose what I complain about. Damn Karen thing. She says, not really that exciting, and the whole courtroom thing was too long and boring. I hope we aren't going to have a Walking Dead Law and Order episode. Dunk dunk. I just did that. She didn't write it. Give us more zombies. I was disappointed that when Lance was shot and fell, the gun was nowhere to be found. It should literally be like a video game. You take someone down, then you take their shit. At least he will be a cool looking walker with an arrow in his neck. Pamela has a great sour face. We got to see a lot of it this episode. And she says last week was way better. Cheers. And her comment actually started a whole couple of comments back and forth between Karen and our listener Alma Contreras, where they both were just sort of debating the gun, which is true, because they kind of jump in the Jeep and drive away, but Lance did pick up the gun and it must have dropped with him. And do you grab the gun? Do you leave it there? What do you do?
I know.
I mean, Lance doesn't seem to be a threat anymore, so really it's not that bad. And they already have guns, so do they need to be greedy and take another one? I don't know.
Hey, in the ZA, you can never have too many guns.
That's true. They should make that a license plate that you can have on your Jeep that you're driving around, strangely, with still having gasoline available.
Exactly.
But anyway, so what's coming up on the podcast? Well, as we've mentioned a couple of times, oh my God, there's only 4 more episodes left.
I know.
I can't believe it. So next week's episode is episode 21, or 5 if you're Amelia.
521.
Yeah, exactly. Whee! And the title of the episode is Outpost 22. The description we've been given so far is separated from their children, Maggie, Gabriel, and Rosita track a military convoy to a mysterious destination. Ezekiel, Kelly, Negan, and Annie find themselves at a work site. Daryl and Carol follow a train that has taken Connie aboard. Yeah. So that's a lot of people to include in the episode. So, and it looks like it's going to be just jam-packed full of like action. And I made a note that the little metal gate that they show that has the words Outpost 22 on it, it looked very Alexandria. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if it is Alexandria or if it just had a gate that looked like Alexandria to me. And maybe that was just my images that I saw hit me that way. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to see. It did not scream of Alexandria to me when I saw it, but it's a similar kind of gate, so I could see how you would make that connection. But my guess is it is not. I mean, it's got to be somewhere else. Just because, again, Alexandria is in Virginia and the Commonwealth is in Ohio. So, that's not like you just, get on in your convoy and drive for an hour and you get there. So, I mean, so I'm thinking it's probably got to be somewhere else.
That's true. So we did get images at the end, the clip at the end of the episode where they tell you, coming up next week, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
We do see a couple of really great, tense images. We've got a group of our people getting unloaded from the bus. There's a new guy that's talking to them, and he's using words like, "People will see the benefits of your labor," and so it's obvious this must be some kind of labor camp of some kind.
Right.
You've done bad things, and we don't want to kill you because people are a resource. Negan, you should understand how that feels. And then we do see, interspersed with that, we see some images taken from above of the train that Lance must have spoke of. And we see there's also an image of Daryl and Carol using binoculars, and they must be sort of following the train or spying it from afar. We get some over narration by Daryl, who says, "You took my kids from me. You want to die quick or you want to die screaming?" There's sort of a confrontational scene with Carol and him, and he's got some soldier at knife point.
Oh yeah.
And he's got some blood on him, so that's probably not going to work out nicely for him. Since it's clear that there's sort of a couple of different groups, they've been brought to different places. Negan has a moment where he's looking around at all the people that he's with, and he has a moment where he says, "We got to work together." There's a really terrifying image that shows soldiers dragging Herschel away, and we don't see what that is about. But there's a really great final image, and it's Negan says, he's got someone sitting behind him. He's back to back, and he's like, "Are you with me?" And it's Ezekiel, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm with you." And you can see that he's not excited about the idea of working with Negan, but it's kind of this is who I'm with. This is, we got to do this. We got to work together. So sort of that next step of here's the, we had the episode with Daryl and Carol, who always have each other's backs, and they have such a natural thing. Now, do we have a group of people that maybe don't always naturally work together, but they have to work together because the ultimate goal is we got to get the hell out of here? So I'm curious. I can't wait to see. Next week looks so good. I can't wait.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there was a sneak peek on Talking Dead. I didn't watch Talking Dead last night. I was very tired, and football. Plus the whole Talking Dead is on later now, people. I don't know if you've heard me complain about it about a million times, but it's on later, and it makes me mad. And sometimes I'm either really tired and I don't watch it, or sometimes I'm really tired and I don't pay attention to stuff. And wouldn't it be great to watch the after show, right after the show? But who am I? I don't plan out the AMC schedule.
You just don't understand how these networks work. That's all.
Yeah, I just don't. It's because I'm a girl, probably, right?
You said it, but no, sure.
Yeah, I sure did. So I didn't watch it yet. I'm curious, so I'm wondering if even talking about that sneak peek episode is a spoiler each week or not. And now that we're really getting to a really tight, don't want spoilers kind of thing, I don't know. Maybe we don't talk about that scene.
I think maybe we don't. Maybe we don't. Yeah. I think that might not be. Although I do. I unfortunately was spoiled earlier this week, and so I think it's my duty to report this. But I will give everyone a chance. If you don't want to hear this, stop listening right now and maybe advance forward about 30 seconds. Okay.
But I have to hear it.
But do you want to?
Well, I don't know. What does it involve? Is it for the next episode?
Yes.
Oh, I don't want to hear it.
Okay, then I will.
Because I haven't been spoiled yet. I was spoiled for this episode. I knew Lance died.
Yeah, okay.
I knew something bad happened to Lance, and I assumed that he was killed. Yeah. So the scene at the end did not surprise me.
Okay.
I was slightly spoiled about that. So as we get closer, I don't want to know, man. I'm really sorry you were spoiled, though. That sucks.
I just was checking Facebook of all things, and I was clearing, how you get the notifications, and I was just clearing them, and one of them was videos, new videos that are posted, And 9 times out of 10, that's just garbage. But the top one was like, this happens next week. And I was just like, are you kidding me? So, yeah. So anyway, we'll
discuss next week.
if it happens, I will talk about it. So,
okay.
And say what I saw. But, it was, I was like, not surprised, but at the same time, I was like, oh, well, now that kind of takes away the mystery a little, because I'll be like expecting it. So but we'll see.
That sucks. Same, and I think we talked about it last week that I had something for this week's episode spoiled for me already. And
you did, yeah.
And it was the Lance thing. So which is disappointing, but I also, I saw it, but I didn't know when it happened. So at least there's the questioning of like, well, it's going to happen at some point. And I didn't know how. I didn't know that he was killed by Carol and Daryl.
Yeah.
I just knew that he had died.
That something bad happened to him.
Yeah. So it really could have happened at any time in the episode. And I would have still been kind of surprised at least. So there's that. So, So do you want to talk a little bit about your weekend?
The question is, do you want me to talk about it?
Well, I mean, whether or not we talk about it, is it going to change the fact that the Bears are going to get creamed? I don't think so.
Okay.
We might as well. I mean, we put it off from last week, and the
we
more
did.
we distance ourselves from it,
Well, first I'll just say that this past weekend I went to the Music Box Box of Horror 24-hour film marathon. It was a horror thing. It was a lot of fun. The highlight, without a doubt, was they showed the Andy Warhol film Blood for Dracula, which is a hoot if you've never seen it. And it was a 35 millimeter print, so I'd never seen it on film before, so that was really cool. But after the movie was over, the guy who played Dracula is this amazing, quirky, funny German actor named Udo Kier.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a long, distinguished film career, and he has done guest spots on The Simpsons. So he is all over the place, and he is hilarious. They had him there. They brought him in, and he did a Q&A after they showed that movie, and it was unbelievably fun. Really, really cool. So yeah. So that was, and I ended up, I only made it about 14 hours. I didn't make it the full 24. So, but still, I had a great time. Saw some movies I'd seen before. Saw a bunch of movies I'd never seen before, and wow, it was really interesting and a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys are out enjoying the horror festivals, whether it's the ones on Shudder and AMC and Netflix and Hulu, or if you are going to the theaters, because I know a lot of cities and towns do this kind of thing for this month where they will do that stuff. So it's super fun, and I had a great time. Evans City. Okay. So you and I and our friend Jody went to Monroeville, Pennsylvania back in June to the mall where they filmed Dawn of the Dead.
Correct.
And it's run by this, it's called the Living Dead Weekend. And in the mall there is the Living Dead Museum, and those folks, the museum is amazing. We went on the tour, and it was really, really cool. And they run the convention, and they also do another convention in the fall in October, and they usually host that in Evans City, which is north of Pittsburgh. Monroeville is east of Pittsburgh. And Evans City is where George Romero filmed the movie called The Crazies in 1973. And he also filmed the original Night of the Living Dead there. And that's where the cemetery is. That's where the old farmhouse was located, and all those locations from the movie were. And so I, by myself, went out there last weekend to go to that show, primarily because there were 4 actors from the original Night of the Living Dead that were there that I wanted to meet, and I figured, these folks are in their 70s or their 80s, and so, how many shows do they want to go to or going to be able to go to? So I thought I'll bite the bullet and go out, and it was an amazing show, and I got to hang out with a lot of really cool people. got to meet Tina from Return of the Living Dead, the delightful Beverly Randolph. She was there, and she looks just like she did in the movie, and she is adorable and wonderful, and she was great. Tom Matthews was there, played Freddy in Return. Dana Ashbrook, who is in Return of the Living Dead Part 2, but you would probably know him more from, he played Bobby in the Twin Peaks television show, so that guy was super cool. And then, Tom Savini was there, and, a lot of the guys and the gals who were ghouls in either Day of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead, sometimes both. And that was really fun. So it was really neat. I had a great time. Since I was by myself, I made a whole bunch of friends because I kind of was forced to talk to people. But the absolute,
it's good socializing for you.
it really is, because I was telling this to Jody, like I was disappointed that it would have been better if you guys could have gone with, but at the same time it would have been totally different, because if you guys had been there, we would have been in our little bubble, and not that we don't talk to people, but it would have been different, know. So yeah. But the absolute highlight was there's a guy out there named Larry Divinitz who runs these tours of the Monroeville shopping mall, and it's a Dawn of the Dead tour, and he takes you all over the mall and points out
so much fun. We had so much fun at
it's so
tour.
Great, yeah. And he points out where stuff was shot, and he is has so much knowledge about the movie and has all these great backstories, and it's amazing. It's an incredible tour. It's 3 hours long. It's amazing. We talked about it when we came back from June. Well, he also does tours in Evans City for both the Crazies and for Night of the Living Dead, and I got to go on that, and I actually got to go onto the property where the farmhouse was back in '67, and of course the farmhouse was torn down almost immediately after the movie finished. And that was why they filmed there, was that the people who owned it were like, yeah, go ahead, nail boards into the walls. We don't care, because we're going to, so go nuts, And so it's not there anymore, but it was pretty amazing for myself, who's been watching this movie for as long as I have, to see that's where it was. And you can see it. So the trees are still the same, and you totally get a sense of there's the house, and then back where the gas pump would be, and you see where the truck explodes, and the scenes with the posse, with the sheriff and the newsman, and the crazy thing is, right, movie magic, that literally is like about 60 yards from where the farmhouse is or was.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? You're just like, holy crap, that was really fun. And we went to the cemetery, which of course you and I and Jody went to on our own last time. But Larry, being Larry, I got to find out all of the things that you and I and Jody couldn't figure out originally, which is like, where was the grave that they put the wreath on for their father, and where was the grave where Johnny gets his head smashed into it and he dies, and all those little things like that. It was really great, and it was the highlight. And Larry is unbelievably amazing guy. He is a super fan, and his enthusiasm is unbelievable, and he did the reenactments this time too. So you remember when we tried to stage the scene with Jody losing her shoes on the ground? Yes. Larry acted that scene out where he kicks his shoe off and stuff, and it was great. So yeah, it was super fun, and yeah, amazing. And the weather was fantastic. It was really warm and sunny, and so yeah, that made it even that much better. So wonderful show. It was amazing. I was really glad I went to it. They've already announced next year, the Monroeville show in June is the 45th anniversary of Dawn of the Dead next year, and they've already announced that they're going to have 45 guests from Dawn of the Dead there. So that should be pretty impressive. And they've also announced Evans City is next October, and they have already announced some of the guests that are going to be there that have confirmed. And one of them is Judy Ridley, who played the main character Judy from the original. So I'm starting to eyeball that and thinking I might have to go back to that one as well, just because I have not got a chance to meet her yet. But again, anyway, amazing show. I took a lot of pictures. I took some video on the tours. Larry is one of those people that's like, take your videos, take your pictures, post them, tell everybody that, he's not like, you can't tell anyone this. He's like, no, tell everyone. So and we'll try and figure out a way to make some of those available to you guys if you want to see some of these locations. It was pretty cool. So I had a great time.
Larry's enthusiasm was one of my favorite parts of the Living Dead weekend. He's such a fan, and his attention to detail, that's the thing, is that he researches every little bit. And it's such a great attention to detail. And he's so like, every time he reveals something, he's so like giddy to be able to impart this thing to people, because he's like, he remembers how he felt when he found out the thing. So when he tells you the thing, he's like, and you're there, and it's just so good. I mean, the best part of the whole weekend was him recreating the escalator zombie. I mean,
my God, or the zombie that was bouncing into the glass doors at the beginning.
God,
he says right away, he says, look, I never wanted to be a tour guide. I never envisioned doing this. I just was such a fan of these movies that he just wanted to know all this stuff, so he learned it all. And he's friends with the guys who run the museum. And when they started doing the show, I think in 2015 or 2016 at the mall, Kevin Kreis, who runs the museum, was like, hey, you're going to do a tour, right? And Larry's like, I am. And so that's kind of how he started. But one of the things he did say is that there is a podcast, and I think it's a video podcast, called Hallowed Grounds. And it is a very, very popular one. And the host goes around to horror movie locations, and they do basically what Larry does, but they go all over the country and all kinds of movies, not just the Romero stuff. And recently they did, I think over the summer, Larry said they came into Evans City and he took them on the tour of the cemetery and the farmhouse and all that stuff. And it has not dropped yet. He said it's coming out soon, but he said you should definitely watch, because there are some secrets and tidbits in there that he does not usually reveal. So it's like a little extra. So yeah. And Larry has written articles that have been published, and he has also appeared on Blu-ray commentaries for movies because of his knowledge. So yeah, he's a really cool guy. He's really knowledgeable, and he is like a little kid talking about it because he's so excited and into it. It's great. So yeah,
it's so great. It's and we all agreed at the end that we couldn't believe, like, when you're like, you're gonna do a 3-hour tour in the bowels of an old mall. It's like, okay,
you're like, really
long and ridiculous. You literally, it's done like that. You cannot. It's and I'm not like the big super fan of Dawn of the Dead, but it was so interesting. It's his excitement. He gets you so excited, and you've seen the movie many times, and it's like, oh yeah, that happened there, and that happened there too, and he's right, and oh my God, and he's just so excited about everything. He gets it. He sucks you in. It's fantastic.
Yes, yeah.
Can't recommend him enough. He's great.
And so yeah, if you are at all curious, their website is thelivingdeadweekend.com. And they have preliminary information on both shows up for next year, but not a lot yet, because obviously they're still, balls are in the air, and they're still kind of trying to sort everything out and get everything finalized. But typically going into 2023, like probably around February, March, that's when they'll start making guest announcements and when tickets go on sale and all that kind of stuff. But if you're up for a little travel, if you're not in the Pittsburgh area, it is totally worth it. It's really fun. So
I would say too, if you're at all interested in more information on the convention and the meetup and all that stuff, they have a Facebook group for Living Dead Weekend, which I of course joined when we were going to go, but I'm still a member of the group. So any announcements and stuff are there. But what's great is that other people who are members of the group, they post all the time, like, look at this great thing that I bought, or look at this great piece that I acquired from wherever. And the dude there's this one guy who's had this whole saga where he's been building a recreation of the barrel that's in the basement from
Return
of the Living Dead, and he did the whole Tarman barrel, and he's brought it to have it signed and everything, and it's so cool. Like, just so you it's this outlet for the convention as well. So if you're interested, that'd be a great place to get information right off the bat and guest announcements and things like that. But on top of it, connecting with the community of people that have been before or are interested in going in the future. Such a great community, and Larry posts there a lot as well. So it's wonderful. I really, even if I don't ever intend to go to any of those conventions again, it's such a great group of people to just follow their stuff, because everybody gets so excited and loves sharing it with such a great like-minded community. So can't recommend that enough as well.
Yeah, and the people who attend these shows are just, everybody we've met has just been super friendly and nice, and you know, they're all into their own thing. They all, you know, some of them, you know, might look like they are actually in some of these movies, but they're just really, really pleasant, friendly people, you know, underneath, and it's really great. So cannot recommend enough.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else we need to discuss before we wrap this up?
Just that this weekend, Dawn of the Dead in 3D.
Yeah, check your local listings and see if you can find a showing of it.
It's Regal Cinemas, and like you said, they're kind of expanding it and running it a few more showings, I think, than they originally planned. They're moving it to more theaters because of the response. So, you know, check your local Regal Cinema. It opens on Friday, and it runs, I think, through Halloween on Monday, at least for right now. So
that sounds about right. Yes, absolutely. All right. I think that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks again, guys, for coming along on our, you know, we tried to be short, but, you know, we always fail.
We do.
Journey.
Epic fail.
Epic fail once again. We'll try again next week, and we'll see. So come along with us again next week and see if we can make it under 2 hours eventually. But until next week, as always, I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
Don't forget to always aim for the head.
Because body shots just don't work. To send us an email, write us at aimfortheheadpodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @AFTH Podcast. Pictures and video are always welcome at our Instagram account, Aim for the Head Podcast, all one word. But the best way to keep in touch with us is to just like our Facebook page to get all of our updates in your feed.
Are you good to start? We're good with the disclaimer and everything is good?
Sure.
Sure. It's great, Diana.
See,
you did such a great job.
It's so funny. I mean, like, I haven't laughed that hard in I can't remember.